What if the most powerful thing that you could do in a conversation wasn't necessarily to speak up, but to just stay silent, even for 10 seconds? What if you never had to experience that sinking feeling in your gut, the one that happens 5 minutes after you walk away from a conversation thinking, why on earth did I agree to that? We've all been there. I know I have. The request comes in, the pressure mounts, and then before your brain has even processed the question, your mouth has already said, yes, of course I'll do it. And in that split second, you've traded your future peace for their immediate comfort. But what if there was a way to break the circuit? What if you could buy yourself the time to check in with what you truly want rather than what you think you should do? It's not about being rude, and it's not about saying no to everything unless you want to. It's about installing a circuit breaker, a safety valve, if you will, and I call it the pause protocol. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to stop that automatic yes and the spiral that comes after. Now, before we get into it, if you're new here, welcome to the coaching sessions. My name is David, and this is where we have honest conversations about what it takes to stop playing a supporting role in your own life, especially if you're a gay man who has spent years being the steady one, the reliable one, the one that everybody leans on, everybody's therapist at 11 o'clock at night. As a mindset coach, I help gay men in my coaching community go from feeling like second best, somebody's maybe, or even powerless in their own lives to standing taller, feeling more confident in their actions, decisions, and relationships without shrinking, editing, or people pleasing to keep everybody else happy. And if that sounds like a journey that you want to stay close to, I invite you to hit subscribe and tap like so you can hear about new sessions as they land. All right, let's look into why we do this. Why do we say yes when every cell in our body is screaming no? And it's rarely because we truly want to do the thing. It's because that yes feels less like a threat that we might have to deal with if we were in actual fact to say no and the other person loses it because you did. The pause that we take between being asked and responding can also feel like a threat because of how we might be perceived. So we hurriedly say yes to avoid the immediate discomfort between you and the other person. Now, for many of us, especially if we grew up hiding parts of ourselves, we learned that being helpful and being agreeable was the price of admission, if you will. It's how we stayed safe so we wouldn't be rejected. When I was a kid getting bullied and I finally started to make friends and get along with people, I would people please to stave off that rejection. And that continued right the way through my life, even into my late 40s, and I'm 52 now, so it's taken a long time to get there. So when somebody asks you for something, whether it's a favour, a date, an extra project at work, whatever it is, your nervous system registers that no as a threat, and your brain can think that if you say no, the other person will, I don't know, think that you're being selfish. Or if you pause before you answer and make them wait, they might withdraw their approval somehow. So you rush in to fill that silence with a yes. And it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's your body trying to keep you safe from conflict, even if it's not happening. But here's what I've learned. In my own life as an ex-people pleaser and as somebody that used to position themselves as second best, and what I see constantly now with my clients inside of the freedom community is that quick yes is expensive. You're paying for it with your energy. You're paying for it with resentment. When you agree to things that you don't want to do, you're not being kind, my friend. You're being dishonest to yourself and your needs. You are presenting a version of yourself that is available, willing, happy to help, while the genuine you is exhausted, overstretched, maybe even begrudging, and eventually the bill becomes due. It shows up as burnout, it shows up as snapping at people that you love. So what do we do to shift it? And the shift that I invite you to make today is to remember that your immediate reaction is not and does not have to be your final decision. True confidence is about being comfortable enough in your own skin to check in with yourself and give yourself the answer that aligns with how you feel about it. And if that's a no, my friend, then that's what your gut is telling you, that's what your brain is telling you, then that is the answer that you go with. The pause isn't the absence of an answer, It's a boundary in itself. It's telling you and telling the world, my time, my energy are valuable enough to require consideration. So, how do we do this? Well, in the heat of the moment when the pressure is on, I know it affects us all this way, it's hard to remember to breathe, let alone pause. So I'm going to give you 3 specific techniques, stoppers, if you will, and these tools you can keep in your back pocket to give yourself time to present the answer that you want to give. The first one is the physical circuit breaker. So when the request comes in, do something physical before you speak. If you've got a glass of water, have a sip. If you've got glasses on, adjust them. If you are standing at the time, shift your weight gently from one foot to the other. Take a slow, deep breath. I'm not talking about frantic shifting here, a nervous thing. I'm talking about a slow, deliberate micro movement. It sounds simple, but what you're doing is breaking the automatic neural pathway that goes straight from hearing the question to yes, 100 miles an hour. You're forcing your brain to engage with your body. And those 2 seconds of physical movement are often enough to stop the automatic people pleasing from running its program. The second one is the holding phrase. So you don't need to say just no unless you want to. You just might want to say something like not yet, if that's what you feel called to say. Most of us panic because we think we need to give a definitive answer right then and there. But you don't need to do that. Just memorize a holding phrase that feels natural to you. So it could be something like, let me check my diary, I'll get back to you. Or I need to look at my week before I commit to anything. Or simply, leave it with me and I'll get back to you tomorrow. This removes the pressure and it takes you out of the hot seat for a time. It allows you to make a decision when you're alone, regulated, and clear-headed. Now, I get it. Some people will be pushy. Some people will push for that answer. My advice to you when that happens is just to repeat exactly what you've said. So if it's, let me check my diary and I'll get back to you, just say something along the lines of, I'm not sure if I made myself clear enough. I've said to you, I'm going to check my diary and I'll get back to you when I can. Now, the third technique is the 24-hour rule. So for any big request, anything that involves a significant chunk of your time, money, emotional energy, make a rule that you never agree in the room. Make it a policy. Say to them, I have a rule that I don't commit to new projects without sleeping on them first. When you frame it as a personal rule or policy, people will very rarely push back. And if they do, same thing, repeat yourself. And most people will respect it, and it shows that you take your commitments seriously. Now imagine what your week would look like if you only did the things that you consciously had chosen. And I'm not talking about your job here. I mean, this is about different sorts of situations and scenarios that might creep up in all areas of your life. Imagine the relief at looking at your calendar and not seeing a single obligation that makes your stomach turn. Well, not one you're getting paid for anyway. Imagine the self-respect that you would feel knowing that when you say yes, you mean it, and when you say no, you mean it. This is what the pause protocol gives you. It allows you to move from being the sensible option who does as he's told to being the man who leads his own life. And again, I understand job commitments, meetings, some things you can't say no to. So this is about those situations where you do have control and where you do have a choice. Now, before we end the video, I want you to carry this line with you, this mantra. My silence is not a void, it's a boundary. When you pause, you aren't failing, you are taking charge. Now, I know that for some of you, the idea of making somebody wait, the idea of sitting in that silence feels terrifying. It triggers all of those old stories about needing to be good enough or helpful to be loved. And if you're ready to dismantle those stories, and you want to be in a room with other guys who are learning to pause, check in with themselves, and trust their own authority, then I invite you to join us inside the Freedom Community, which is my coaching container. And this is where you move from understanding these concepts to intellectually living them daily. It's where I guide my clients through the practice of the uncomfortable work, but in a safe space, of putting ourselves first, supported by a group of men who get it. So you don't have to do this alone, my friend. The link to join is in the description below. And until next time, please remember, take a breath, take a beat. The pause is where the power lives. I shall see you in the next video. Take care and be well.